know if Wakanda is an ally or an enemy.
Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. I'm Eric. I got my buddies Gerald and Ahmed. And there's one movie this weekend that brought us together, and we knew we had to talk about it. It's probably one of the most anticipated comic book movies of 2022. But even in a while, we're talking about Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Black Panther 2. A lot of emotions, a lot of things to talk about in this film, and we're just going to get right into it. Ahmed, what did you think about this movie?
It was beautiful, man. It's a loving tribute to Chadwick Boseman. And, to be honest, I wasn't sure how they were going to do the movie successfully without him, but they did as much as they could without him. And I think he would have been proud.
Absolutely. And it was from start to finish a wonderful movie, a great movie, grabbing your attention from the very first scene, right, Eric?
And like you said, you sat down in the theater and it hits you from jump. We're gonna skip. We're gonna go full on spoilers. I know there's some quasi rule about you gotta wait 10 minutes, but you know what? Bump that. We're going right into it. Um, I I like to listen to other podcasts and other people who do reviews of movies, not to get my opinion like solidified, but just to understand the opinions of others and to grasp what other people saw in a film or a TV show. And I was listening to the Midnight Boys, and Van Lathan brought up a good point. He said that beginning scene where we see Shuri trying to find a cure for T'Challa or whatever was ailing him, that was almost as frantic as the moments when we found out in real life that Chadwick Boseman had passed. I remember I remember that day very vividly. I was out at Target with my girlfriend, and this was in COVID, so we had masks on. Um, and she had gotten a notification on her phone that said Chadwick Boseman had passed, and she looked at me and she was like, "You're not gonna believe what just happened." I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Chadwick Boseman died." And we're just all we were like, "Wait, he was sick?" And that's kind of the emotion that they got in that first scene where it's just like, wait, where did this come from? Like, we didn't know Chadwick Boseman was sick. Again, it was COVID, so everybody was inside, so we didn't really see much of him or of anybody because we couldn't be outside. And that news was just a shock. And that beginning scene almost perfectly captured how pretty much everyone was feeling. And then they were the nods to where Shira was talking about my brother was suffering in silence, and we didn't know. A lot of us as fans of Chadwick Boseman and his films and his career felt like we didn't know, and he was suffering in silence. And just seeing the magnitude of everybody and their grief, um, trying to understand what was going on, set the tone for the film. And we're gonna get into the film. Um, when we talk about the emotional heartbeat of this film, I believe that emotional heartbeat was Angela Bassett's Queen Ramonda character. Um, we see her in the beginning with the United Nations. Everybody's wondering, oh, there's no Black Panther. What is Wakanda gonna do? We want their resources. We want their vibranium. And she, like the queen that she is, was like, don't mess with us. What did you guys think about Queen Ramonda and Angela Bassett's portrayal of her?
The her intro shot going into the UN, and that whole like cutting back and forth between the marine ship was I'm not the marine ship, the base. That was just beautiful and perfect, and I loved her display of power, and also just like I don't even know what to say. Like she brings these guys in that just attacked her, and then hands them off to France and just be like, here are your dirty ass men, take them home and quit. I freaking loved it. So everything about her, and I think you're right. She was the emotional heartbeat, and I think I think for some people, like I think that might have been a work because some people might worry how like real life stuff can like, get in the way of how a movie gets made, and this movie very much has deep roots into the real life happenings of what happened to Chadwick Boseman. Um, but all these actors and actresses portray it so perfectly. It's a perfect blend, right? Like, you know, they have real grief, but it's beautiful the way they do it, and it's with grace, I think, and it really does do Chadwick Boseman, I think, an honor. I think it's the kind of acting he would have been proud of.
And
Yeah,
we're talking about Queen Ramonda, and we talked about that scene. So getting into our next point, Ahmed, what scene do you think stood out the most?
we're going full spoilers, right?
Oh, full spoilers. Go ahead, man. We deep.
I knew because Gerald sent us a tweet and said, don't click on it. And naturally, I clicked on it anyway. And it gave kind of like a spoiler that Killmonger was going to be in it. And just seeing him still hit so strongly. So that scene where he's just like, you and I have more in common than you think. And you're going to be noble. You're going to take care of business. Just, oh man, like everything changed in me. But also the scene where Shuri is given a tour of how do you say it?
Telecon.
And just seeing the underwater people, just all of that was visually spectacular. And the soundtrack behind it, fantastic. Like, you could not ask for a more perfect scene. There was no fat on that scene, meaning like you can't find any fault with it.
That was a better Whole New World scene than Disney's ever made. But it was actually, like, it was a standout scene for me too. In all seriousness, I felt like it was an underwater mirror of what Wakanda is, right? And it's exactly what it was meant to be, to get to Shuri and let them see, like, we are the same. And that goes into really, I think, like, the main theme of this movie, right? Like, the biggest question is, are we going to, as populations of countries that people would love to take over and use, should we band together or fight each other? And we're showing that, like, they have the same issues.
And we knew, and in the comics, we know Black Panther, T'Challa, his family, and Namor are always going to be, I wouldn't want to say they're mortal enemies, but they're longtime frenemies. Like, they always go back and forth. There's been issues. That's always a story that is always good, that can be told many different ways. Not as a villain per se, but similar to, Lex Luthor will always have, Superman will always have Batman, or like, you guys know what I'm trying to say. It's just that those two are always going to be connected. And in this instance, we saw how this relationship between the Black Panther mantle, in this instance, Shuri and Namor, interact, and this was their first interaction. Getting into Namor, the way they introduced Telecon, the way they introduced his people, the way they introduced him, I think has been the best portrayal of any antagonist, I don't want to call him a villain, because he did some villainous stuff. he straight up killed the queen, so
but you sympathize with him, like,
yeah.
Because
he's an anti-hero, and they're doing, like I said, with them being mirrors of each other, they doing the same thing. So, he's just the one who lost. Remember, like, Shuri's the winner of this one, but he's just the one that lost this time. So that's why. Obviously, she's the main character. It's a movie, Wakanda Forever. So, but he's an anti-hero at his core, and he's the best anti-hero we've gotten for sure. Probably one of the best, if not best, villain. Thanos is still up there because the dude still snapped away half a damn place. I have so many questions about that also. Like, were his people, was Telecon snapped?
That's a good question. And they never got into it.
They never got into it after that, because I know he says he doesn't deal with matters of the surface world, but it impacted all universes.
Yeah.
So if it impacted all the universes, I would think it impacted every living being on Earth, whether it be underwater or not. I don't know. We're getting into semantics, but it's it's unimportant.
But they made Namor. Oh, I'm sorry, Gerald. You still going?
No, you're good.
but they made Namor so sympathetic and kind of like a little bit like Killmonger, but he had a reason to be upset. Whereas Killmonger was kind of like, oh, I want to protect, people that look like us. Namor was like, oh, no. I just want to protect my people. Fuck all of you. And the reason why I want to protect us is because we've got a utopia. What we have is a pure example of a utopia, and I'm not about to lose that over your surface world bullshit. And even then, he was still trying to be diplomatic. Whereas for Killmonger, there was no ultimatum. It was with Namor, it was join us or die. Killmonger didn't even want to give you another chance. It was just, this is what I want. Nobody's standing in my way, not even my blood relatives.
And so we'll get into the portrayal of Namor in a real quickly. Piggybacking off what you were saying, Ahmed. I you have a good antagonist when you're wondering, wait, is he right? Because halfway through the movie, I looked over to my girlfriend. I was like, yo, who's the villain here? Because
how do you think I feel when I saw Killmonger?
Yeah, because it was just like, because he had a point. He was just like, yo, Shuri, you guys decided to open up Wakanda after, just because you're cool with the Avengers, you guys decided to open up Wakanda, not understanding the ramifications of what this means. And now we got people snooping around in the ocean looking for vibranium, and they came across us. So now I got to deal with this issue because of you. So either you fix it or we gonna have some problems. And honestly, he had me until he decided to kill the queen. And that's what I'm like, okay, he might have bit off a little bit more than he can chew, but you understand it, because as someone, like you said, he's ruling his people. He wants to make sure his people are cool. Now you put them in jeopardy because of what? You on some lunchboxes? So like now it's like we're gonna have some problems. And then like it's understood, because like I said, I looked over to my girlfriend. I was like, are we sure that they were the antagonist or the villain here? Because he's making some valid points. But like we said, after he killed Queen Ramonda, then it was just like, okay, this is where we're going. But it also I still ask that question, because Shuri was filled with vengeance after the death of her mom, and it catapulted her to finally accept, okay, yes, we have the Dora Milaje. Yes, we are trained in battle. Yes, we could do all these things, but we still need someone to be a Black Panther, because when someone comes knocking on the door, who's gonna protect us? M'Baku and his boys and his tribe, yeah, they're strong, but they can't really fight like that. Like Atuma washed Okoye on the bridge in Cambridge. So it's like, all right, if someone really brings the drama to our front steps, what are we gonna do? And again, we have no Black Panther. That's when Shuri, it probably clicked with her and was just like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Um, and she ended up doing it, but then she realized she was doing it for the wrong reasons. So we're going to, after we talked about Namor, what did you guys think about Shuri and her portrayal and her arc as becoming the Black Panther?
So Letitia White was having all those issues with the whole COVID stuff. I don't remember the specifics, right? But those were all those rumors that were going around when this movie kept getting delayed for a little while there.
But yeah, about that, like I think Nate Moore, one of the EP, the executive vice presidents, he was saying like he doesn't know where that came from. Like,
okay,
that was
because like I know that was like a continuing storyline, like in the rumor mill or whatever. I know it was never confirmed, so if it's not real, good. But all that stuff that was like allegedly going around, like I'm not gonna lie, I was like, okay, well, should I be a little worried about this? Like, what's gonna happen with her in this film? Are they changing things up? I kept moving it around, and then I watched, then like seeing it, like I said, from the minute I saw her on screen, everything she was doing, like it was real emotion. She took this opportunity to be the lead in a superhero movie ran with it and freaking killed it, in my opinion. Like, and mind you, this is a woman who signed up to be what, a third, a fourth, a continuing character in this franchise, and has been propelled to number one overnight. And I think she had just as great a time on that and on set and in that film as anybody.
Yeah, I everything Gerald said, but at the same time, I was kind of a little disappointed that it took too long for her to, don the costume and go through that conflict. Because we only got maybe 30 minutes of her in the suit. You know what I mean? I just, that was, I guess, one of my criticisms of the movie in general as well. I just thought it was so long. And, but even then, yeah, I liked, her portrayal. There were some moments where I thought she was kind of being a brat and, being kind of too cynical, if you will. But overall, it was great to see her finally find the balance as long as it took. She finally got a good balance of, Killmonger and T'Challa, to be able to assert herself, but also understand that there's business that needs to be taken care of, with respect to nobility as well.
And you talked about the length of the movie. This movie was almost, was it 2:45, 2 hours and 45 minutes around there. So we were chock filled with characters. We were introduced to Riri Williams, who they referred to as the scientist. I'm gonna be honest, when they kept talking about the scientist, I was like, all right, this got to be Dr. Doom. But it was actually Riri Williams. We see Everett Ross return. We see Nakia. We see Valentina. We see
Valentina with the purple hair.
yeah, and this film was chock full of characters. I'm gonna just get into it. We'll get into it right now, talking about our favorite characters. Right, for me, easily number one is Namor. He Tenoch Huerta's portrayal of Namor was chef's kiss. Was wonderful. Probably one of the best performances in any hero, villain, anti-hero way, shape, or form in the MCU. I'm gonna go with Shuri. I'll actually go Angela Bassett's Queen Ramonda number 2. To round out my top 3, I'll go with Shuri as Black Panther. But to be honest, it's tough to rank these characters because of just the way this movie made you feel, what this movie was about. This movie was all about a tribute to Chadwick. They all acted their asses off. I'll give them that. This was a great. I don't think there was one lead. I think it was a total ensemble cast. Everybody acted their asses off. But if we have to rank it, for box office quarterback purposes, and marketing research has told us that this is what the people want to hear. I would go Namor number 1, Queen Ramonda number 2, and then Shuri number 3. Jared, what about you?
I hate you because you got my 3. But that's that's my 3. Probably Ramonda might be number 2. Yes, Namor is number 1, and then number 3 has to be Shuri for me. But it's really hard to rank those 3 as well. Like every single one of them had their own things. But like Namor is just like, you're the queen now. Thing walking out.
Oh yeah.
Like it was just like this man is terrifying, and I very much loved like the scene where Riri and Shuri had to were working together to figure out how to stop him, because I know and that was the thing, like a part of me was a little annoyed that we did only get like 3 scenes as of Black Panther, but at the same time like I fully understand and fully support with the decision they did to do that, because this movie wasn't about the action. It wasn't about that ever in at any point. It was about a tribute to a friend and also talking about a problem that needs to be talked about in this universe. Being in this universe, these two countries and their issues, and should they fight each other or band together and fight the world? So I thought it was beautifully done, and like you said, acted hella great. Hella great. Why does it just say hella great? But
It worked.
and then like another character that I love that I don't know that gets enough love, and I hope I'm saying it right, Danny Guerrera,
Okoye.
Okoye.
Yeah, all of them.
I loved her in The Walking Dead, and I love her in every second of this. Like when she starts beating ass, I'm like, yes, keep, just like do it, keep going, like don't put up. So like, I don't know what, I don't have really any complaints about this movie, which is rare, I think.
What about you, Roman?
So I'm gonna go completely in a different direction. My favorite character, I have to give to Killmonger, number one, because even in death, he still carried on with his mission. Even in death, he was still like, fuck the world, blah blah blah. You know, he hasn't changed, and he was still just as fearless in his encouragement to Shuri. You know, just the boldness in him to even say, "Your father's a hypocrite. He would have killed the scientist," and he's like, "Yeah, he totally would have. He's not wrong. Where's the lie?" And you know, so the second one, of course, Namor, but actually, I'm gonna go with M'Baku. One, because I just love Winston Duke so much. I was listening to some interviews he did on Wakanda Forever, and you know, you guys are talking about how well acted, you know, they were. You could feel the grief. That's because it was real grief in that they literally all went to visit his gravesite, you know, occasionally, with the new cast to kind of pay their respects. But oftentimes they were even having to be patient with one another. And it was natural. It wasn't even like a big deal that they had to be patient. It was like hold on, this scene is too heavy for me right now. Because it, you know, it was just, you could just feel Chadwick Boseman's presence in the movie. And speaking of presence, Trevor Noah, you know, has this small role in the first movie. It was literally small. You would never have known unless you just knew, unless someone told you.
Unless Trevor Noah told everybody.
Yeah,
which he
seriously.
did later, yeah. But his role was a lot bigger. You heard his voice and you're like, oh my God, that is Trevor Noah. How did I not notice this the first time? And you know, so I just got to give it to Griot, his character, Griot. And Nakia as well. And that's just because I kind of have a small crush on Lupita. So.
Hey, I mean, you also did it. We also could talk about, I don't know if you guys are MMA fans, Kamaru Usman had a cameo in there. Speaking about Riri Williams, quickly, I know this movie was a tribute to Chadwick, but they're also under the big umbrella of Disney and the MCU. So we definitely had to have things pushed forward story-wise. We'll start with Riri Williams. Did her appearance make you more or less excited for what's to come in Ironheart?
Way less. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like her character. I was like, wow, you're the reason for everything that went wrong. Have you guys seen The Purge?
No.
Okay, well, never mind. I'm trying to think of a movie where someone does something and it's all their fault, and the whole plot is because one person fucked it up for everybody. Like, The Purge would never have happened. That family would never have to defend themselves if that stupid little kid didn't open the door and let that homeless guy in. That was the reason why that family had to defend themselves. And the reason why Wakanda has to defend themselves is because Riri decided she was gonna fuck around and use her skills of prodigy. I don't care if that sounds messed up, but the fact that she was dealing with the wrong people and they were like, oh, we can use this little kid's project to fucking, colonize the underwater. And so when they were like, yeah, just give us the scientist. We can't. Why not? You don't know her. What ties do you have to protect her? She means nothing to you. She didn't even want to go to you in the beginning. So, yeah, I could say more, but I'm going to let my boys have the floor here. But I have been holding on to that since Saturday. Since Friday, I'm sorry.
I liked her. So, I mean, she seemed pretty cool and everything.
Hate you.
I was more than fine with everything that like I got what they were doing and everything. It's a little weird how like her project somehow got linked, like stolen from a professor and like given to the government to be using. Like he was selling and making that money, and we still never found out what the hell happened to that professor. I feel like that might have been illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know about her final suit though. I don't know.
It's
It
Wakandan
seemed,
tech.
yeah, it just like the face. I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch some of the scene at least with it. It looked cool and everything, but like I think it was like the face, like the light color blue. I don't know. Maybe it was like too light for me or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but um, I also just don't like that they took it away from her. Like you just depowered her, so whenever she has her own show, she has to be depowered.
Mm-hmm.
That way she struggles. Like that's the only reason they took it away from her. Like we can't let you take off with it. Like why the fuck not? You just let her fight in a war. Like
But on that
you
same
just took
note,
you just took the 17-year-old college kid and let her fight in a war. Like, but you can't let her take this home to Chicago or Connecticut where she probably needs it. More, I mean, she's
but like,
she's gonna go flying in a beat up car thing now, and it's probably more dangerous than. I mean, it's like if Tony Stark let Spider-Man get that cool suit and then just told him like go hang out in that hoodie now, like why would you do that? You just have this man provide like in a Civil War, like give him something.
but
So
on that same note, like I would have kind of liked to see a Tony Stark mention or like a wink to the audience that the reason why she was in school or whatever was because of this thing that Tony Stark did. You know what I mean? Because it's
yeah,
literally, huh?
I mean, they kind of did though, didn't they? Like in her introduction and everything, um, they kept mentioning about Stark stuff, and they were like, "Oh my God, you made one!" And then her suit comes down and she takes off. So I mean, they kind of did without saying it. I'm just
Yeah.
interested to see what they, because like from what I understand in the comics, she's like very like he is her mentor. Like he finds her making this stuff and then takes her under the wing, and then when he dies, like he becomes an AI for her. So obviously he's already dead, and I don't know that we're getting Robert Downey Jr. back, but I mean I guess that'd be pretty cool if we can get him back as like a Jarvis type.
But you can look at it like the way I looked at it with Riri, and the reason why she's at MIT is because they could easily just say she got that scholarship that he was giving out in Civil
Mm.
War. So they could easily just say that, and that's her connection to Stark. Um, but I think the reason, again, I was listening to Midnight Boys, and they brought up a good point. I think the reason why her introduction might have been a little off, was because it would have made it probably might have been better if it was T'Challa that was the one that was mentoring her, because like you said, Gerald, in Civil War we were introduced to Spider-Man through Tony Stark.
Mhm.
America Chavez was introduced through Doctor Strange. So they had, I don't want to make it seem like they had these male mentors, because it's also great to see two black girls who are smart as hell work together, which
Mhm.
the MCU can also say like, hey, like this is what's also going. But if it was Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa that was the one looking for her, it might have made a little bit more. It might have made it an easier understanding as to why. But I didn't mind um, Shuri and Okoye being the ones looking for her. Again, at the
Yeah.
beginning, when they kept talking about the scientist, I thought it was Doctor Doom. So I didn't think we were going to see him until the end. But I was still amazed that she built that. But moving on to other characters, we touched on Valentina. We now know she's the director of the CIA, and
Yeah.
how it's seeming that she's on the precipice of maybe she wants to start a war with Wakanda, and we know she's gonna be in Thunderbolts, and she's gonna put that team together. Um, I have a theory that after Secret Invasion, she's gonna end up being the director of Shield, and she's gonna be really annoying and piss me off. But that's where I think we're going with her. And if the war with Wakanda is the end game for her, I mean, that's not good. But again, they in this movie she was used. They continue to push other things forward. What are you guys expecting out of Valentina?
I expect her to, like you said, take the war to Wakanda, but I think it's going to happen with the Thunderbolts in their movie. I think that's what they're going to be trying to do, honestly. It makes perfect sense with her gathering this intel on this. She's already got most of her team from all of the team up shows and everything over the past 2 or 3 years. So that's what I expect. I would think that's going to be her thing. That way, the United States could say they don't really have anything to do with it because we know how Wakanda deals with threats. But let a secret Thunderbolt team led by what is it, Demo or Nemo, whatever the hell his name is,
Zemo?
Zemo, Zemo, and all of and Yelena and all. Like, I mean, that's a team that I could see trying to go into Wakanda, trying to do some shit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting with Bucky too, with his history. Um, what do you think, Ahmed?
I don't know Valentina or the whole thing, so that's on me. I just saw Julia Louis Dreyfus and I was like, oh, she's got work. Yay.
Oh, shit.
I'm just kidding, Julia.
Yay.
But yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, what's next with this? And so now to hear what you guys are saying, I'm curious now how it's going to tie in with Kang and everything because seeing like I'm seeing all the Easter eggs. I'm just so like, what's next? Just bring it to me already. Quit teasing me now. I think I've just become spoiled by the instant gratification with these other movies that when I saw the trailer for Ant-Man Quantumania and Kang, I'm like, okay, this is what everybody's been talking about. Is he going to be the new villain? Let's go. And so I don't know if I can keep up with all the new characters. I kind of just want something to just happen already.
Yeah, and Phase 4. This was actually the end of Phase 4, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We get to the third act. Shuri and Namor, they fight, which I thought was a brutal fight. You saw the claws on his face, got his back blown up. Shuri
She
got
got
stabbed
stabbed.
through the Shuri got stabbed. Like they was going at it.
She wasn't
Shuri,
just stabbed; she was impaled.
yeah,
That woman was impaled.
yeah. Shuri ends up not killing him because she says that vengeance has consumed the both of us, which is a callback to what T'Challa said to Zemo at the end of Civil War when he found Zemo and they were talking. We get that. We get the mid-credit scene. We're introduced to T'Challa Jr., which was that scene was way too much. That was tough.
Thank you,
That was
Eric.
tough. That was tough. But then at the end, when the credits roll, we see the MCU, like they always do, the Black Panther will return. Now, my question to you two is, where does the MCU and Black Panther go from here?
I feel like the inclusion of T'Challa Jr. is to potentially recast Black Panther. Who knows? But I think that's how they can get away with recasting Chadwick Boseman.
Gerald?
Yeah, the future of Black Panther, like I mentioned, I think that has something to do with the Thunderbolts or one of those kind of movies. It makes too much sense for that to be the next big thing they have to deal with because they've talked about these threats for 2 movies now, and this I guess, franchise. So dealing with the actual threat now, I think, would be the next step. So I think that's going to be the next one for that one. Now, as for T'Challa Jr., I obviously he's too young. He's not going to. We just got Shuri as Black Panther. I think she'll get her for a few years. But remember, we are getting Young Avengers, and that's probably going to be something that sticks around if they continue to plan to make these movies within decades and decades to come. And maybe this is the first sign of many where they're saying like, "Hey, look, you're getting a pre-Young Avengers lit tease for like 15 years from now. Like instead of just the normal 3 to 4 year tease, we get a big tease or some shit." So that's pretty crazy. That's a thought. Or Secret Wars. If we get other universes, since we do know that T'Challa Jr. exists in this universe, there's a chance he exists in other ones, and possibly we get another T'Challa coming in as an older version of him, and that'd be another actor coming in, and maybe he comes in occasionally, helps out or something. So I think there could be multiple different ways they could do it, because Marvel's just, with the opening of the multiverse, has just opened a new, like, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's not fair. You know, like we could just talk all night about it, but they can just go, like, they can do whatever the hell they want.
Well, and
Right.
they added the whole mutant thing, which I know Namor is supposed to be a mutant, but the fact that they made it a point to say I'm a mutant in the movie,
Yeah.
I guess we're going to also see more mutants in the new Marvel movies or the subsequent Marvel.
Oh
Now
yeah, they're definitely coming. Gerald,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. Young Avengers, I am not excited for that. I am not checking for that nonsense. And I swear to God, if there's no way they make T'Challa Jr. A young Avenger,
Yo,
that
give him like 15 years.
that's not
He's
happening.
already 6.
I'm telling you right now. I'm not checking for the Young Avengers, man. I could care
But
less
I'm
about
telling
them.
you, dude. What I mean, as much as we all like love these movies, what do they do? They're just made to tease for the future,
True,
and if they
but when
can
you look,
find a way to do that, I mean,
but when
why
it
else bring him in there?
Nah,
But
man, they're gonna have to do some serious. So they're gonna have to definitely like age him up. I don't know how,
Yeah,
but I also don't think it's gonna be long because when you look at it, we've had 4 Thor movies, we've had 3 Captain America. We're gonna have 4 Captain Americas, 2 different Captain Americas, 4 movies, 2 different Caps. We had 3 Iron Men, 3 Spider-Man, 2 Doctor Strange. Black Panther is probably one of their more famous IPs. We're gonna have a third Black Panther. That's no question. It's just a matter of when. I know with all this, like the cast needs time to just regroup, just relax, like rest, because this movie was a lot. The only question I have is it's gonna obviously come after Kang and everything. So how will they, like you touched on the multiverse? They're definitely gonna age him, but I don't think we're gonna wait 15 years for an older T'Challa. They're just
I
gonna
don't know,
take
man.
him from the multiverse, pluck him out from the multiverse, and say, "Hey, this is what it is," and he's gonna lead. But
You live here
um,
now.
yeah, we're definitely getting a third one. But they did this so I feel like the way they ended it was to end it like respectfully and everything, to know that okay, T'Challa has a son. We know that there's a T'Challa Jr. But after Kang, after all the multiverse stuff, we're gonna get an older T'Challa, and he's gonna take the mantle. The only question is, what does this mean for Shuri? So, and there have been in the comics where Shuri has sacrificed her life for T'Challa. So it's interesting to see how that will be played out, especially now that he doesn't have his dad, he doesn't have his mom. He has Nakia, but they're definitely gonna try. I think they might do something new, like a new generation of the lineage of the Black Panther. Um, Again, like we said, this movie it was heavy. This movie was a lot. So now we're gonna get into our ratings. What do you guys rate this film?
Hall of Fame.
Ahmed?
I got to give it a Hall of Fame, but I'm a little hesitant only because it's not fair to say it. you could tell that there was something missing in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to make this judgment, but just not having Chadwick Boseman really, really hurt the movie, because he just really made the first movie. Him and Michael B. Jordan just really made that movie. So I will give it I will give it a Hall of Fame, but with an asterisk. And it's just because Chadwick Boseman is just such a phenomenal actor. A lot of people, discovered him because of this movie, but he was in Lincoln Heights. He was Thurgood Marshall. He was in fucking Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and just all of that combined. You just can't kind of take this away. But I did read some reviews that were talking about people wanting to recast, and I'm like, no, you can't do that, obviously. And of course, the show must go on. Chadwick would have wanted them to continue, as they said as well. But that's just my rating. I'm sorry, I'll probably let y'all down.
Nah, I'm a go with a Hall of Fame too. Ahmed, you made a great point. Like, man, that T'Challa-sized hole you definitely could tell. But again, everybody did their damn thing. Like, there were some points where it's like, dang, he could have been used here, but they did their best to make sure that those points were few and far between. I give this a Hall of Fame. Don't ask me to say which one is better between this one or Black Panther 1. I will never compare the two because they are both great films to me. I'm a go Hall of Fame. Black Panther to me is a Hall of Fame. I wasn't around with you guys when y'all were doing this, but if you did Black Panther, I would have rated a Hall of Fame. Another Hall of Fame, man. Big ups to Ryan Coogler for doing this, man, putting this together as the director. Again, he's the EP of Ironheart. He's got a lot of Wakanda projects and a lot of Wakanda spinoffs coming. He really showed what a director he is at telling a great story, introducing Namor, the visuals, the score, everything went perfectly. Again, we touched on the acting. It's a Hall of Fame for me. Any final thoughts on this movie from you guys?
Everything you said about Ryan Coogler, man, you're absolutely right. And we have to remember, all his success, and then he still, was put in handcuffs in Atlanta. So, don't let that Ryan, if you're listening, for what reason, know that we support you, and please keep making more Marvel movies. And we hope this one gets nominated for an Oscar as well.
Yeah, man. They if there's any time that an MCU or the actors and actresses in an MCU movie need to be nominated, this definitely got to be the film. Any last words, Gerald?
Nah, not today, man.
Well, that's how we're going to end it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, that's Gerald. That's Ahmed. I'm Eric. We're Box Office Quarterbacks. Be sure to follow us on all our social media channels. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Wakanda forever.
Hey, like Ahmed said, Wakanda forever. We have a lot more in store in the coming weeks, so be sure to follow us on all our socials. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.